My father-in-law bought the car from the Wilbur estate in 1954, and then he drove it a little bit, and then he decided he was going to restore it, and he took it apart and he put it in a barn, and then he never got around to it, and it stood in a barn in Middleburg for 30 years. And he asked my sons if they would loosen up the cylinders, because after sitting 30 years they were a little stiff. And I have two boys that are quite interested in mechanics, and they worked on the car, and they got enthused, and then when my father-in-law passed away, they said, "Gee, Dad, if you can get that car, you know, that'd be a lot of fun." So I inquired, and I got the car. The wheels were off, and the tires were stored in the basement, and that's why they're still the original tires. Everything on the car is original. And just by luck, he had stored the tires in a basement that there was just the right humidity that it kept the rubber from drying out, and there was enough darkness so that the rubber didn't deteriorate. So the inner tubes and the tires are all original. They were made in 1928. We've brought it here to Oneonta a couple of times because, of course, the car originated here. It was made for a banker's widow from the Wilbur National Bank. Mrs. Wilbur, her initials are on the door, and the car was made specially for her. Actually, this is probably the first time I'm sitting in the back seat. Usually I'm driving. But she had all the comforts of home, you might say, and she had right here on the floor is a hot water heater so that she wouldn't get any fumes, and she could regulate that. She has electric cigarette lighter right here, and that's on a recoil. And on this side she had a mirror and a little notebook so she could keep notes. She has goose down pillows, 4 of them, silk shades, cherry wood interior, and footrests, and it has 2 jump seats because it is a 7-passenger limo. And she had a microphone here so that she could talk to the chauffeur. So she could give directions or whatever she wanted, because of course she could close the window and be completely isolated. So she could give directions with an electronic microphone. And another thing that she put on probably in the 30s, because they probably had thefts then because of the Depression. And if you'll notice on the firewall of the car, there are 2 extra horns. Those are not the original horns on the car, but those were horns installed for a burglar alarm. And this was the burglar alarm. This was actually made in Germany, and what it is just a little vibrator in there that you can tighten down and make more sensitive. And this was hot wired from the battery through here and out here to a pair of horns that are mounted on the firewall. And when anyone touched the car, this would vibrate. Let's see if I can make it do that. And when that made a contact, the horns would beep and it would scare someone off. There's something about this car, whenever you take it anywhere, it always draws a crowd. I don't know, because it's so high or because of its shape or whatever it is. There's always people standing around looking at it. And then, of course, it has all these features that people think are new today, and it's in this car. There are aluminum heads on the motor. There are water-jacketed manifold, also made out of aluminum. There's a trouble light under the hood. There's all aluminum cast fan. There are no belts. This is aluminum cab. It's a steel frame and a steel fenders, steel hood, but the cab is all aluminum. And it's a V8 motor. And people are just amazed that they had these things. Cunningham was a carriage maker, so it has a lot of carriage features. He started out in business making horse carriages and funeral hearses that were horse carriages and things like that. And so that's why the handles on the door are horse carriage handles, and the cab of this car actually rides in a cradle. It's a 3/4 spring, so it's an under-over spring, and the cab rides in that just like a cradle would be. And all those things just fascinate me, that you know, they had all this and then it sort of disappeared, and now you get it back. I mean, aluminum heads now, you know, are the big thing, but 1928 he had them in his design. One day my daughter was showing her friend the car, was standing in the driveway, and they were looking at the car, and her friend happened to look in the window, and she says, "There's smoke coming out of the back here." And what it was is this cigarette lighter shorted out, and it was smoking, and it just happened to be that they were there and they saw it. But that's the closest that anything's happened to it.